Good, doing good. What's going on, Merrick? Good to hear. Good to see you, man.
It's good to be seen, my brother. Welcome to the Museum of Graffiti's Daily Artist Talk, where we chop it up with artists like yourself who have contributed and advanced the culture of writing and graffiti and into contemporary art and into the public space. I want to read your bio for a second before we start. I got this from one of your galleries, who says it very well. DEFER was one of the pioneering members of the first generation of Los Angeles graffiti writers. His early hand styles have since developed into a typographic cultural motif with complex patterning, a flowing style that melds letter forms into energetic abstractions. His location-specific installations feature the graffiti-inspired hand stylings and calligraphy that have come to define his painting. Inspired by the Mexican street-based Picasso style, his work combines themes of words, movement, and energy. Over the past 10 years, his art has transcended from street murals into works shown in the LA Louvre, Pasadena Museum of Art, Otis College of Design, Belmont Gallery, and many other places. That said, you have a tremendous history as an artist. Equally, you have a tremendous life. Your story is quite compelling and amazing. And so I kind of want to just jump into it with you. And let's start, this conversation, from the beginning, your early days in Boyle Heights.
Okay, yeah, it was a pretty rich childhood, I should say, I had at Boyle Heights, because we were blessed to have a lot of murals there. And they weren't necessarily more cultural murals done by the East LA Streetscapers, Willie Heron, a slew of other artists that did murals out there in the public for public consumption. A lot of them had like religious overtones and social justice and historical and a lot of deep content. And a lot of it I didn't understand as a kid, but as I grew older, I understand and appreciated it even more. And also the work ethic and skill that they put into these murals were pretty amazing. So so I was blessed to be around a lot of this art as a kid. So it was a very rich, not rich financially, but rich experience growing up.
Right, and it's interesting because it's predominantly Mexican culture, right? How did you adapt to that and identify with that?
I was, there was times where it was kind of rough, because you stick out from everybody, right? And you're in this real small percentage of just being by myself there. But I learned to adapt and overcome and integrate myself within the culture, and it is what it is, right?
Yeah, and in the early days, I would imagine for you, especially during the 80s in high school, and as you were beginning writing, the gang culture was, front page news worldwide. How were you dealing with that in light of trying to find your own way as a creative person?
Oh, well, around that time, there was just a lot of things that overshadowed everything back then, because like in, the late 80s, LA was going through a lot of transitions, and before that, there was, breakdancing and stuff. So I think a lot of kids expended energy and time and formed those community bonds with people that did more in the hip hop culture. But then soon after, I think they had like laws where they prohibited breakdancing in the streets, and they would, they had curfews and stuff like that. So therefore, I think there was a big vacuum that was left to be filled. And I think, gangs filled those cultures, and you filled that
right
void.
You had NWA come up, and of course that was huge, right? Because that was the voice of the ghetto and of the time. But hip hop was definitely influencing LA, and LA was finding its own voice. But it had a moment of disruption, didn't it, with the Rodney King incident and the LA riots? How were you coping with that? How did you see LA, I guess, surviving that?
Yeah, that was a very that was a cultural turning point, because it showed like the civil unrest and this I guess this rage that a lot of people held, and it kind of just overflowed. You know, it overflowed into the streets, and yeah, basically, I think it destroyed a lot of the communities, but some communities, you know, rose up and you know, were healed and yes, wow, looking at these images is pretty incredible. And yeah, it was a strange time. You know, it's kind of like now it's a strange time. I don't know how to explain it. You know, you could feel these things in the air. You know, when there's social unrest, or right now, even right now, there's what's going on now with this coronavirus thing. It's like, you know, it's different, but it's like almost the same because you kind of feel this heavy weight in the air. And I remember back then there was like a heavy weight in the air because of all these things that were happening, and they were, you know, larger than one person, right? You know, it was an entire city. Then, you know, it sparked to an entire nation. You know,
Right.
brought,
It was symptomatic of bigger
Mhm.
issues that were happening with migration, with
Yes.
social justice issues, economic issues. And of course, these
Yes.
things always played out in the street. Even for us in the South Bronx, that was playing out in the street with the tags, and we were learning.
Mhm.
I was learning from the gang members, you know, back in the day, and their hand styles.
Yeah.
Uh,
Mhm.
and I put this image up because it has different variations of LA hand styles. And what's interesting, the use of Old English font was used quite a bit, wasn't it, back in, oh, it still is, right, as a matter of fact.
Oh yeah, yeah. Old English is basically like, you know, universal in terms of, you know, like, you know, the known fonts. And Old English is like, you know, if you look at the Los Angeles Times, it's bold Old English. And I think back when I was growing up, printed matter was very prominent. You know, everything was a newspaper, everything was a magazine, right? Now everything's on the phone, so you get a lot more information, I believe, but you know, it's not the same, right? You know, because I was able to see a lot of Old English on a lot of things, and then especially, you know, I think guys that, you know, got tattoos and stuff, they wanted that black lettering, that Old English, and it was, you know, it's pretty, how would you say it? I guess universal and beloved, right? And it looked
Yeah.
very classic too.
Right. So at that
Um,
time, when you were started writing, when you were doing graph, was was this kind of style already baked into your ideas, or were you just focused on kind of whatever New York was bringing in or influencing at the time?
Well, this writing predated the New York writing, you know, but it wasn't, you know, and some of it was just it was some of it was artistic, and some of it was more, you know, just more like a tag, you know, but in a different way. And I think it was always a lot more symmetrical in terms of you know, the symmetry. Like if you had a roll calls 1, 2, 3, 4, and
Right.
very the same, where a tag kind of like, I mean, but I shouldn't speak on tags because a tag is a signature, right? And it's basically an individual's own signature, you know. So, but in general, I think the New York styles are kind of more flowy and big, right? And these ones tended to be more the same size and uniform, but having a stylistic, you know, a unique style to it
Right, and
also.
that style, I mean, there are many names for that style, but Picasso comes to mind, right?
Hmm.
Uh, was that something that you practiced? Were you practicing that style, that tradition?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, that was something that I practiced personally, and you know, I practiced blocks and the Picasso styles, and yeah, and definitely. And then, you know, when the hip hop, you know, when like graffiti came out, like, you know, they didn't have internet back then, so we watched, you know, movies like Wild Style, um, Style Wars. I remember the Buffalo Gals video. They showed graffiti real fast, right? And you had to
Yeah.
watch it on these video shows that came on like at 12 at night on Saturday, you know? And, you know, so we had very little visual, I guess, examples of New York graffiti unless we knew somebody that brought, like I had a couple friends that brought pictures back from New York, and we were in awe, you know what I mean? Just what they were doing with the spray can. And, so, with that being said, I know I kind of jumped all over the place, but with that being said, I think my crew was one of the first crews that integrated or mixed both of those styles, where we kind of had like you could see a little bit of Old English flavor, a little bit of some of the West Coast writing styles that predated, the New York styles, and kind of melding them together, and it became this sort of hybrid. And I think our crew was one of the first ones that actually did kind of more ornate pieces with that kind of lettering style. So it was kind of a mix of past and present.
Right, and that crew would be K2S.
K2S, yeah.
Right, Kill to Succeed. And I see Big Sleeps kind of chiming in. He's talking about Rampart District letters.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Those were, and he's mentioning that he started doing Old English letters in Juvie Hall. And so tell me about K2S, his crew. An amazing crew, and friends that I made as well when I was in LA. We have Tempt, Duke, Big Sleeps, and Prime.
Yeah, so K2S, it's kind of like we're crew. I would say our base is around downtown mostly. Pico Union, maybe the Rampart area, and kind of the surrounding areas. That's where most of the the main members came from, that area. But graffiti's kind of universal, in terms of like not specific to one neighborhood, but we kind of came from that little cluster of neighborhoods there, our specific crew. And we go back to 1985. That's when the crew was originated.
Right, and you guys used to always have this layup that everyone used to go to, the
Belmont Tunnel.
Yeah, the Belmont Tunnel.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that history, because it's a really important place in LA history.
Yeah, Belmont Tunnel was an old abandoned train station back in the day, and it used to, there was a train that went from there to Glendale. I think it was called the Toluca train, but once they shut down the train, they still left the station up, so it was abandoned, and there was actually a tunnel there too, and it went pretty far in there. I mean, we went pretty far where we were already soaked in mud, and but basically that place was like a dead man's land. Basically nobody was there, and we utilized it along with other crews and individuals as like a it was I would say one of the birthplaces of LA graffiti.
Yeah, was it territorial for certain crews, or was it just open for everyone?
Pretty much everybody. A lot of crews from LA went, and painted there. But I think, being that we were in that area, that direct area, people did say, yeah, that's K2S's yard. But it really, wasn't ours. But it was characterized as it because we were there a lot. We held down a lot of the walls, and actually some of the first battles took place there, it was Graph One, which was Quick Draw. He battled Shandu and LA Bomb Squad, which is our parent crew, and that battle took place, I believe, in early '85, '84. Yeah. And wow. That was one of the first
that's right,
battles. Yeah.
And of course, one of the more infamous one was the Hex and Slick battle.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That happened.
And then right before that, in 1987, it was the West Coast battle, West Coast K2S battle.
So, we're showing some slides of you as a style writer. You're in the tradition of style writing.
Yeah.
We really don't see the DEFER we know today in all this, but how was this all preparing you for the DEFER you are today?
Yeah, graffiti is one thing that I think that it prepares you for anything that comes that's unexpected. Because when you're doing graph, you're going up against so many elements because it's on the streets, right? And you have time restraints. You have to worry about just different things in the surrounding areas. And just to function in that kind of, I guess, when it's happening, just functioning under pressure and trying to create with things that aren't necessarily made for art, because spray paint back then was very crude, right? Like we used it was basically used for, auto body stuff, Krylon, painting stuff, like just household stuff. So we had to find ways to control that medium, and that's difficult in itself. And I think that being that you're taking something that's not made for art and using it for art, I think that's an incredible tool that's utilized, because it just, I think it makes anything possible to me, and I could take a brush and try to make magic with it, and it doesn't matter how good the brush is or how bad it is. I've used bad brushes and I could still do a comparable piece.
Well, over the years, you've mastered the letter form, and clearly this is a more modern DEFER piece. You've, of course, the paint nowadays is pretty amazing, isn't it? The kind of control you can have.
Oh yeah, it's night and day. I mean, the color combinations and just the pressure, the tips, and it's incredible. I would have never thought that they would make spray paint for graffiti artists, and it would be so widely used. It's incredible. Yeah. Wow.
What year is this piece?
This one's a little more contemporary. I would say earlier, I would say maybe 2007, maybe. So it's about maybe 13, 14 years ago.
I think I see 08.
08? Yeah, okay, yeah, there
Possibly,
it is. Yeah. 08.
Could be. No, it's interesting because, you could see the evolution of spray paint through an OG's work, right? You see those early pieces that we saw, they were softer. You didn't have the kind of command you can have now with spray paint. I want to just pause for a second and welcome everybody who's just joining us. We are a Museum of Graffiti, and we're having our daily artist talk with the one and only DEFER K2S, coming to us from Hawaii, of all places, but originally from LA. And DEFER, one of the things, if I can, one of the things I enjoy about your story and your history is transformation, creative transformation and spiritual transformation, personal and holistic transformation. And we've talked about this before in your life. And you take such a big leap forward from that image that we saw into what's to come. And you've made yourself quite a success through this transformation. And what's important for people to understand is that it didn't come overnight, and that you really fought hard to become this person, contrary to the life you've lived and the circumstances, but also the opportunities afforded to you. Tell me about this transformation into the DEFER we know today.
Well, it's a long story in terms of transformation, because I think transformation happens every day, right? We have to always strive to do better than we did the day before, and a lot of times that doesn't happen. So I see everything as an everyday struggle, and they're all bits and pieces of this thing we call life. And I've hit peaks and valleys, and even like with I like to see sometimes there's glimmers of hope and what people perceive as success, but at the end of the day, tragedies happen. Like we lost our brother Norm, what I mean, and just seeing like even just I mean, and there's a lot of crew members, and so whatever we deemed as like some kind of sort of milestone as success, we've lost too. You know what I mean? In the midst of that, so it's always like it's hard to I always see it as the next thing is going to happen. I don't know, but but coming from where we were, I'm not where I maybe want to be, but I'm sure as heck better as where I used to be, so that's
absolutely. And that's why I'm so proud of you, because that transformation has led you to really great projects with your art, and notably recently with the Beats project. This was an incredible come up for you. How did you land this?
Yeah, it was kind of crazy, because like I believe in I practice manifestation, right? Where I kind of let things go into the universe or leave it in God's hands, because a lot of in art, we don't have control over who accepts our art, where our artwork goes, right? So basically, why I mentioned manifestation, because one night I was at this, I guess it was like maybe this, it was a party or whatever, but it was a lot of people that were affluent and stuff. And I was on this balcony and I saw this, basically, they were showing that movie. What was it called? I only saw one of them. It was called The Defiant Ones. And I was like, wow, like, that's crazy what Dr. Dre and all those guys went through, right? And I don't know, I think it's been manifestation, because I was thinking about like what, Dr. Dre and those guys did for LA, and kind of, we were doing graffiti around that time too. And I was thinking about it, and, I'm not saying that exactly happened, but I got a call like a little after that, and it was just, from this guy, Casey Ryder. And, he asked me if I was interested in doing something for Beats by Dre, and I was like, wow, that's pretty crazy. I was just thinking about this, and it took flight from there. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
a true manifestation,
Yeah, yeah.
And
Exactly.
you did the Beats by Dre for the NBA All-Star Weekend as well. You did a beautiful event for them.
Yeah, yeah. I was blessed, man.
And
Yeah.
so I really want us to discuss where you find this new both writing style and what does it mean to you? You call it a spiritual language. Of course, it's got its roots in calligraphy. It maybe even has something in Japanese painting. At times, it's so expressive and beautiful, like Arabic writing. But it's something completely different. You have a stream of consciousness, and I've seen you work, and it's quite phenomenal, because it's you've mastered it so much. Not even mastered it; it's mastered you, so to speak, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's kind of interesting, right? Tell us about this, finding this new aesthetic, this style that's in your work right now.
Well, basically, I like I've said before, there's three tiers to my attack, because you have the structured form of letters, right? You have the A, B, C, D, F, and so on and so forth. And every every culture has its own written language, as written way of articulating it, so it becomes its own structure. And with graffiti, we have your tag styles, but then you also have your wild styles, right? But wild style is basically, you take the structure that's pre-existing, right, at A, say, but you add, like, you contort it, you add loops, you add arrows, you add chips, whatnot, right? 3D, and that becomes wild style. So one day, what I had an enlightenment where I just let my hands flow, so it became like automatic writing. And basically, what I did was I obliterated the lettering style, and it's almost like speaking in tongues or babble, where I don't know what it means in the flesh, but I don't know what it means in the spirit. It's a deeper mystery. So that's spiritual language, which is more, I would say, sublime, spiritual, free flowing. It's not good or evil. It's just from another dimension. Sometimes I
Right,
believe I'm an alien too.
right. And what people should know too is that it's gestural painting, right? It's in the tradition of gestural abstraction,
Yeah.
but you also, it's almost like you hide words in it at times, or thoughts or sayings.
Yes, and that's the one thing. My art nowadays there's no preliminary sketches or anything. You've seen me paint; everything is just right there on the spot. So everything is basically, basically it's really um, spur of the moment, on the spot. And sometimes I feel like I'm channeling, because I'm like, where's this coming from? And it seems to flow out of me, right? And it's kind of hard to explain. And it's very random, because I think we have two states of consciousness. We have subconscious and conscious. So I think some of it is like in the middle. It could be like a dream state, because I'm almost not even thinking when I'm doing it. My mind is clear, and I'm just free flowing.
You know, one of the things I find with, well, my own experience with your work at the museum, the installation you did for us, and also with our visitors and how they just stare and they get lost in it. It's a moment of silence. It's a moment of complete engagement where they just get lost in looking for words, or just, you know, again, their eye roams your strokes. It's pretty amazing how we receive your work as well. There is something that is um, maybe in the spirit realm as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing that's kind of, you know, that's the mystery part of my work, I believe, because sometimes I don't even know what it is. And I'll go back and look at it. I'm like, where'd that come from? And that's where, when you know, kind of free your mind of everything and you just paint, I reach this level of this flow state. And when I reach this flow state, it's almost like a sacred ancient dance where I'm just going with the brush, and it creates a sort of mystery because, you know, people say, "What is it, lettering?" But then they don't see a letter, but then they might see something else, or is that a cloud? What is it? And being that sometimes some of the forms I don't even know what it is, where I can't really explain it. Oh, that's supposed to be a cloud. It looks like a cloud, but it probably isn't. But I think that mystery makes people look deeper, and I also add a lot of layers to my work. So, you know, there's layers, and I always term them layers of existence. You know, because, you know, as humans we have so many layers of our existence. You know, we have, you know, the layer we have, you know, when we work. We have another social layer we have with our family. You know, and it's you know, we're complex beings, and my art, some of it's simple, but it delves into those um, complex complexities of the human
Well,
nature
right, DEFER,
there.
even when it's simple, because I live with one of your pieces at home, the big wall,
Yes.
and what's interesting, it's one color, but it is engaging every single day. And it's interesting because I still try to find both meaning in it, words in it. Uh, at times I look at it and find graffiti wild style shapes that, you know, there's something interesting about the balance of this kind of calligraphic style, that I also look for that tradition of style writing, right? Of wild style, let's just say. And it's really cool because you could, in that way, you know, it has so many, like you say, layers and historic layers, right?
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
visually, and that for me anyway, as I look at it, I can pull that away from it, and I can only imagine what other people will pull away from it. DEFRA, I want to kind of switch gears, and because LA has a great tradition in lettering and hand lettering styles. You guys, you know, put together this amazing show, Alphabet Soup, which featured Chaz, Cryptic, Retina, yourself, Sleeps, and Prime. And it's a phenomenal lineup, and everyone has a very distinct style of writing. And I want to just share that with everybody to show the company you keep, the tradition you keep, and that it comes from Los Angeles. And of course, Chaz being the kind of grandfather of the contemporary LA graffiti. Um, let's talk about him. And was he any influence on you, or what are your thoughts on what his work represents to LA writing culture?
Oh yeah, Chaz is definitely the man. You know, he successfully melded those two styles, and he's also he melded the Asiatic calligraphy along with the Chicano hand styles, and he was doing that way back in the day. And Chaz is definitely one of our, you know, we consider him our godfather or whatever, you know, and he's our elder statesman. Um, he's been a mentor also, you know, and always, you know, gives me advice and stuff. Not always, but you know, when I see him, he'll give me
Yeah,
some
yeah, of
solid
course.
advice.
He's a very generous soul, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, for sure.
Also in the show, you had a younger cat from Pasadena, Cryptic. Um,
Yeah, cryptic. Yeah, it's my
and
boy Bill. Yeah.
yeah, and so again, I want people to note the variations of styles and themes, but there is a thread that runs through them, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, and it's almost it's almost like a graph, like we all have this, we all share a bond of this calligraphic style. I mean, and Cryptic kind of his style is very consistent, very precise, very. I mean, he's almost like a typewriter when he paints. It's just very. Um, yeah, I would say symmetrical and clean, really clean. And like my boy Big Sleeps, he takes Picasso style and adds a lot of hard edges and very strong circular movements and swerves. So to the untrained mind, I would say it's almost like some of it could get like, oh, what's the difference? But I knowing that knowing calligraphy and different styles, I see the different variations or where they take it to a different place.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. And again, one of your contemporaries, Retina,
yes,
again,
Mo, yeah,
this he's a beast. He has also
yeah,
created his own alphabet, his own language. And this is what I like about this
mhm,
show that you guys put on,
yeah,
because it really it's so everyone's so distinct and everyone takes a different take on the same concept
yeah. And
of
then
writing.
I'd like to thank Rigo, um, Sicker Maniac, if you follow him or whatever. He actually hosted the show and we did it at the Boathouse and all the artists had input, so it was really good. And it was done in our backyard and um, like and then like well, going back to Retina, yeah, his style was very almost look Egyptian too. You know what I mean? Because you have a lot of straight angles, circles, um, cross cuts, and yeah, he's definitely a beast. And yeah, much respect. And everybody in
And
that show brought a little something, but you had that LA flavor though, that
right. And
distinct
Big
LA
Sleeps
flavor.
with he ventures into more contemporary abstraction with his letters.
Yes, hmm He melds both contemporary and these styles are look futuristic, but then they have a long history too. So it's kind of a mixture of ancient and futuristic, if that makes any sense.
Oh,
And that's
absolutely.
Prime too. Prime also was a letter master, and he is one of the founding fathers of my crew K2S, and he's been doing art since he was a teenager, and he's incredible hand styler.
What I, again, one of the things I admire about you guys, you collaborate. You guys are very generous with each other, both on walls and canvas and projects. And of course, you did the great book with uh, um, Big Sleeps, the Kill to Succeed book, which
Yes.
it's a hard to get book, man. It's a great book, really unique in its content about lettering, lettering styles. Tell us about this project.
Um, I'd like to thank Sleeps for that because, I don't think I would have done that with myself because, he actually authored a few previous books before that, which was Letters to Live By, Volume 1 and 2, and I think Neighborhood Offerings. So this was the fourth installment, I believe. And it started from a conversation. He was like, yeah, man, would you be down to collaborate in a book on a book? And his books sell globally thanks to the tattoo community, which he's a major player in, and he's built up a worldwide network of connections in Europe, Japan, South Korea, China. I mean, you name it. So you know, um, so basically, I contributed some styles and stuff like that, and my style is more on the maybe pushed in the art realm, but then also tattoo artists have been kind of watching my stuff also, and
Right.
um,
It serves as a great guide and learning manual for lettering style.
yeah, yeah. So basically, this was the fourth installment. So the book did, well at the time, and happy to, be a part of it, actually.
Do you think you guys will make another book?
I don't know. That's a lot of work. Yeah, but I give him credit, man, because him and his wife Monica, man, I mean, they work hard in terms of hustling, and I mean, taking the book to different distributors and different tattoo shops, and putting it online, the website, and just promoting it, and
Right.
those are some of the things that I'm kind of weak at.
Yeah. Well, Wiley G isn't, because Wiley G just gave us the URL, letterstoliveby.com.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Boom.
Yeah.
There it is.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, but do you feel that when you do things like this, you give you're giving the game away, right? You,
you know what? I mean, here's what I think. With the internet, right? People have this, this information that, they look on their iPhone, they can go anywhere in the world, right? You can see artwork from Mexico, you can see artwork from Europe, Japan, and it's at the, you remember, Mayor, when we were kids, right? I mean, you had to go to the, the subway station,
yeah.
go see the train. It had to pass by you. You couldn't pause the train. Usually searching for things was a mission, right? You had to jump this wall, jump down in here. And
Wait, we used to pause the train, actually. We used to pull the emergency brake, but that's
okay,
another
there
story.
it is. That's another story. Yeah, yeah. But so we and then we're from the hip hop culture, so everything was like, oh, everything was about individuality. But I think people now, they're so accustomed to being blessed to see all this stuff. They could look at, there's a template, a blueprint, a guideline, right? And you know what? I thought about that. Keep things secret, but you know what? It's also pushed me to excel, because I have to accept the world exactly the way it is, and this is the way it is. People have this information, and they can utilize it and do a piece and study things that we've done already. But that being said, some people are like, oh, damn, is that a DEFER piece? But it's done by some kid in somewhere else in another part of the world. And but that, in essence, pushes me to make my stuff more complex. Make
Absolutely. You are very
my
hard to imitate.
and and I'll push myself to where that might have taken you 10 hours, but I did this in 4 minutes. And and then, not that that matters, but it just pushes me to excel at a different to excel, to take it to another level. And so I see it as a challenge. And yeah, for sure, I mean, when you do manuals and stuff like that, and I'm going to do a tutorial, and it's going to be released through my friend Chris Light has a thing, so I'm going to actually put a tutorial out there for charity also. And so that's another thing where, yeah, I'm teaching people how to do letters, but
I'm looking forward to it, because maybe I'll learn something. That'll be great.
It'll be example. I don't know if you learn, but it's.
But one of the things I like is, again, you say you keep it moving, and you really do keep it moving, because your paintings are not static. Even though, like this one, for example, clearly the background, very clear cut graphic lettering, traditional lettering that you do. But the painting itself is so dynamic. I mean, this in itself is so authentic in contemporary art. I don't think we've ever seen anything like this in contemporary art.
Yeah, and that's the thing where I'm all about every piece I do. I want to push it to another level. You know what I mean? I want to it's not just, I don't want to just keep repeating the same thing. I want to actually excel, push it to another level. And that's the thing where I think some artists kind of maybe find a comfort zone, and that makes sense, because you kind of connect the dots. Oh, I've seen his art here, and then there's that same image, but I can't get stuck on one image or one style. I have to always excel and push it, and that's one thing I learned from Kobe, like the Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
You got to be a stone cold killer.
A question for you. Did you attend art school?
No, I didn't, but I did go to Cal State Northridge, and that's a Cal State, so it's not like a formal art school per se. But I had a great mentor there, Samantha Fields. She's an artist. Follow her, Samantha Fields, and she incredible teacher, and she taught me a lot about prepared me for like the fine art world. You know, dealing with galleries and you know, even academia, and you know, talking about your work, articulating yourself, and that was a valuable resource. And you know, and just to have someone that mentors you and kind of can give you you know, a preview of the things to come in the art world and challenges you'll face and how to choose different jobs and whatnot.
Oh,
That's,
absolutely.
you know,
The painting, you know, it's interesting because the paintings we're looking at now, some of the paintings you left at the museum for us,
yeah.
which are available at the museum. And what's interesting is that no one prepares us for this, you know, for the art game. It's really quite complicated. And it's interesting that we find ourselves now in a position where we're getting older and we're able to advocate for each other to make the work available, but also, like you said, to push it forward, to articulate it in the way it should be spoken about or presented. And one of the nice things is you did this beautiful, beautiful mural for us at the Museum of Graffiti. It's so stunning. And I remember watching you. Again, everything that you were talking about earlier, you know, just completely makes sense in terms of how you go about painting, how you engage with it, and you lock yourself into it. And it's mesmerizing to watch, to look at it, but watch you paint it actually. And it's really a favorite of many people there.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah. There's nothing that prepares you for anything, especially as a graffiti writer, right? We
No.
never envisioned like, you know, because we didn't get into it for our career or money. Quite the contrary, right? You know, we would get punished for it if caught or whatever. To actually, you know, um, make waves in maybe the art world or whatever, it's a blessing. But then also, you know, it has to supersede any kind of financial gain or anything, because you have to do it from the soul. You know, you have to paint, you know, like you have to paint because you love it. And it's not just what you do, it's who you are, right? Or who I am, you know? So,
Well, I mean, you have very huge outpourings of your soul, brother, because you do
yeah,
huge productions. I mean, this one, you know, you even did the floor. You know, it's
yeah.
quite amazing. You know, that you have so much energy to give. This one that is in the Louvre gallery,
Hallelujah,
correct?
yeah. Yes.
And
Um,
yeah, tell me
yeah,
about.
that's the one thing, like say that like the Sky Room, there's never been a mural in there because they had two sculptors showing, but then actually they had something happen to where they they usually have a sculpture in there for 40 years. They put sculptures in there, but then you know, this one year they had two sculptors, but they couldn't put any of their work out there because they were made more for the indoors. And yeah, it was pretty crazy. So they asked me if I could paint a wall in there, and then I had a vision of doing the whole thing, you know, the whole the entire room. Just so we called it immersion. So
Nice.
yeah, so I just thought that, man, I, you know, imagine you walk in there and it's just you're just immersed with everything, and that right there just kind of gave me a challenge, you know. And you know what, this thing was only supposed to be up for 3 weeks, you know. So you know, during the process of that, I was like, what am I doing? I'm killing myself for this. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
like for the sake of art, you know, and for me, just pushing it to that level. And I never
Well,
have regrets, you know.
I mean, you're continuing to push it. It's pretty amazing because you've moved on to other things like set design for Songland, the TV show.
Yeah. Thanks to Ivan and Jeff Conley. Yeah, they you know, good people there. And yeah, that's on NBC right now. They're in season 2. Um, so yeah, I've done shows and different different things for. I've done a few things for movies also. And
You also did this installation for the Jordan brand, right?
yeah, that was initially for a part of the All-Star game where they were having a function in East LA, and that was part of the installation, and they moved it to the Jordan store on the third floor on the private court that they have in downtown LA. So that's there. And
Not a
yeah,
surface you are not willing to cover. This one for the Cravings.
yeah, Cravings. Yeah, yeah, that was in Chino, California. And yeah, I did several murals for them, and a floor, and yeah, there's no surface is safe.
No, and what's really nice is that the work is so elegant and it translates. Even in this piece, the rugs you did, the limited edition rugs, this one's Spiritual Dialect.
Yeah.
Only edition of 3, it's sold out, so you can't find them. Whoever got them is very lucky. I mean, do you see yourself venturing off, like somebody like Futura, who's doing furniture and things like that?
Oh yeah, because I think I'm kind of like I have that mind to where I want to infiltrate everything, right? And but keep it within reason. I want to I want my art to be represented at in the highest form, but also I'm always, my mind's always open to do cool projects, because I think everything we do, and when we go out of our comfort zone, that actually forges us, and it actually helps me to have a limitless mind.
So
And
if that's the case, DEFER, have you done any sculpture yet?
hey, that's next.
I want to see that happen.
Yeah. And it's people like you, Merriman. I think you're one of the first guys that actually pushed graffiti to take it to these other platforms, to sculpture, and to take movements of breakdancing and integrate it into sculpture, where it started on the train, but it came off of the train, and it still implements those old school style, the b-boy styles and the b-boys, and brings it out in a dynamic fashion with arrows and
Well, if I could say this to you, one of the things I've learned, and I always tell young painters and my friends alike, try sculpting, spend time sculpting. It'll make you a better painter. Guaranteed.
yeah, I believe that. I just yeah, that's the thing, man. Maybe
Not that you're a bad painter. I mean, just
yeah.
imagine,
Oh yeah, I think that definitely will. I think yeah, that just challenging yourself to do something like that is that's crazy. To do some sculpture, and I think just the thing with me, I would have to learn a lot more because there's so many steps to it, right? And I would have to learn those steps, and I would have to become accustomed to.
Yeah, but find people that are better than you that do the work, and they'll guide you through it. I've got so many people that have held my hand through some of this stuff. And I've held hands too. So, but as we're kind of winding down rather, this project, again, what I like about this is that up on top, it's clearly, the text clearly says, always listen to the voice of the athlete. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's a Philip Knight quote, and that's a Nike headquarters.
But for me, it strikes me, it's also like, it's not just the athlete. I think of you in this, right? You're the athlete, right? You're the one who is, this is an endurance test. You got to like knock it out. You do it. And again, your voice through your work, it's kind of this workout for you, this meditative workout.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for sure.
And so these commercial projects, yeah, I mean, you've had quite a year last year with it, with a lot of work rather. And, now that we're in the age of Corona, how is it affecting you, and how is it affecting your work and future plans?
You know what? I mean, honestly, like that's what I mean where I say peaks and valleys, because I think you have to be like bamboo. You have to, you have to sway this way, that way, but you can't be broken. You know what I mean? And you know, that's the one thing that people forget. You know, if you're a painter, you have to have pain in your life. You know what I mean? And you know, and adversity, you know, adversity could crush you, or it could make you, right? And that's why I don't look at like things like, you know, you see projects and stuff like, oh wow, that's, you did something for this company or that company, and I mean, I'm totally blessed. I'm thankful for it, but I know it's fleeting, you know. And you know, with you know, darkness there comes light. You know, from light goes to darkness, and then vice versa. So you know, with this thing, you know, I have to dig in deep, and you know, it's affecting everybody. We don't know what's going to happen, you know, and but it's going to be the person that's willing to adapt and simplify, and not be so maybe hold on to like, oh wow, you know, this, you know, it was like this before, because it's not going to be like that no more. So I have to learn how to live with, you know, whatever cards that are dealt to me, or you know, and I have to accept them, and you know, I have to run right through it. That's the way I see it.
Right. And so with that, have you been producing art?
Of course, man. Every day, somehow, some way, every day, creating art, and that's why I'm saying it has to, your art has to, you have to do it if you're an artist, man, because it's you know, it's within you, and it has to be pushed to the forefront, and especially through adversity. Because if people expect to have some kind of success, if they're, you know, not pushing their art through hard times, they're never going to make it. Or
No.
I'll only do a show if I'm gonna, if I'm only gonna do this unless I get paid, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, graffiti was born from hard times
Yeah,
and
exactly,
fire and blood, you
exactly.
know?
You know,
So
so but
I want to
yeah,
ask folks right now, I want to ask folks if they have any questions for DEFER in our final minutes. Uh, you know, please feel free to ask them, because we have a lot of friends here. Heaven, I see you. Anyone interested in providing a question to DEFER should do it now before we close out. I got to tell you, man, you've taught me so much today, and I really appreciate it. And you know, I think it's a history lesson. This is why we do this, because it gives context to your, not just your history, but your town, your city's history, right?
yeah.
You've had a profound impact on your history. Here we go. We got a question from Graffiti Beijing. How difficult or easy is it for you to apply your style on larger scale murals?
I actually find it, I mean, it sounds crazy, but I find it easier than doing it on a, my dog's crying, but I find it easier sometimes because I have more range of motion. I could do bigger strokes, and I could cover more, more space. You know what I mean? Whereas sometimes on a canvas, I feel kind of confined because my strokes are maybe like that and very intricate. But with that, I feel that range of motion. So it's actually, for me, it's easier. I mean, if that makes sense. I mean, it's a bigger space, but it's easier.
It does. And one thing that people don't know about you, you know, in terms of your movements and your muscle memory, you practice martial arts, right?
Yeah, jiu-jitsu. Yeah,
Jiu-jitsu,
crazy
yeah.
jiu-jitsu.
Does that help you in terms of your dealing with these large murals?
Absolutely. These murals are nothing compared to jiu-jitsu. You got to roll around with savages.
Mucho
That's why I trip out. People want to, you know, go over my shit. Don't trip. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I hope you
that's the
train
last
too.
thing you want to do.
Yeah, I hope you train too. I hope you train too.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't trip.
for sure. Mucho 108 asks, why should people buy paint art?
What?
He asks, why should people buy paint art? Art that comes from pain.
From paint? From
Pain.
paint?
Yeah.
People don't need art. They shouldn't buy it. You know what I mean? I don't, you know, people buy things if they want to buy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just saying in general. I mean, and you know, I really shouldn't speak for everybody, because I can only speak for myself. You know, there's no statistics, and art is based on the individual. But I'm just saying, sometimes there's a lot of pain, and you know, or hunger, maybe not physical hunger, but you know, like when a rapper's hungry and he's like, his first albums are just like fire, right? Because
Right.
he has motivation. and you know, it's like yeah, I get what you're saying. It might sound gloomy or something, but you know, I feel like it's a free country. If you like
For
it,
sure.
you can afford it, buy it. You know, if you don't like it, move on. You know.
Keep it moving, right? The
Yeah.
X asks, what LA artists do you look up to?
Jeez, and there's so many, man. You know.
Right.
Yeah.
Have you worked in ceramics and in various slab thicknesses? This comes from My Aqua Slumber.
No, I haven't. I haven't worked in ceramics yet.
In terms of, again, in terms of medium, I mean, you're pretty comfortable with canvas, right? Um,
Hmm.
eh, you know, there has to come a point where you start applying yourself to objects. Uh, are you looking forward to that?
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. I already started with Voila. They're a framing place in LA, and we're working on a resin piece.
That's great, because somebody just asked, is there anyone you're trying to do a collaboration with currently? And there it is.
Yeah, there it is. And with this social distancing and all this stuff, it's kind of crazy. I don't know what I don't know about. I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe
Yeah,
I'll.
well,
Yeah.
I don't think any of us do, you know, but you know what, what is happening is this, that you've given us your time, you expressed how your work has developed over the years, you
Mhm.
shared your talent, and I really appreciate you taking this time with us and everybody who's been following these daily artist talks, because in a way they serve both to you know give us, leave uh, a gift behind, right?
Yeah.
To people to know who we were, what we've done, who the people were around us that help us accomplish this journey, right? Because we don't travel alone in the world. And you have had so many great people around you and still have great people around you. That's a testament to your character for sure. And so I want to thank you for your art and for the time you've spent with us. And
Hey,
we
thank
look
you,
forward
Mayor.
to what's next.
Thank you. Send my love to everybody at the MOG.